Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guests.
It's Mr. Solis.
All right, sir. So it's been a while. The last time we recorded, we were talking about WWE's Day 1 event. How have you been since then?
Gosh, it's been 30 days.
It really has. We are
what
really
a January. I've been good. It's we're in week 3 of school. We opened for in-person instruction, and every week we generally have about 80% of our students on campus, 20% of them quarantining at home. I'm grateful to announce that, as the weeks have gone on, we have gotten fewer and fewer positive test results in our weekly check with students. We test everybody every week. And if that first week we got like 13, the next week we got like 4. And today I think we're able to just name one positive case that was sent home. So we're seeing improvement there. Kids are struggling. Teachers are struggling. Shout out to everybody in the education world making sense of what on earth you're supposed to be doing right now. My heart goes out to you all. But as far as me and the Solises, we're doing fine and dandy.
That is nice to hear, I don't think I officially said it on the pod. I can't remember if I officially said it, but my family and I tested positive very recently, but we're doing all right. As I was telling Mr. Solis before we started recording, that me and the family, we're doing all right. We're holding up, no heavy symptoms. And it's good to hear that at least, in the early education that, people are staying safe. There's little positive tests.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jack, I couldn't be more grateful that the kids come masked up, you know what I mean? And when we came back, the mandate dictated that everyone had to be wearing their N95 masks. And I knew before the semester started that was going to be where they pushed, because they wear things, they've got stuff on their face. But to sort of insist that this thing be what they're wearing as opposed to what they're usually wearing, that one's been a relative struggle, because they go, Mister, they're so uncomfortable. Because they're so uncomfortable. And they go, Mister, can we just wear like 2 of these? And I go, God, I wish I could say yes, because they're willing to. It's so funny, the kind of discomfort they're willing to put themselves through to avoid other discomfort.
Yeah, I know. Long before the KN95 mandate came out, me and my family were regularly double masking, and like it passed by, like in some places, like even at the hospital, they would like ask, like they would say they would look for like KN95s to give out, but then they were like, yeah, "Are you wearing double masks?" And we'd be like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Okay, you're fine." So
right,
I can understand why some students probably are trying to do the double mask as an alternative.
Yeah, I've got one student who like misses the ability to individually express themselves. I go, Mister, can I draw on my mask? I go, don't, because you'll be inhaling all the fumes of whatever you use on your mask. But we're doing all right.
That's right. We are holding up, and once more, as always, usually during these troubling times, there is one event. Well, it's usually typically 4, as we know them as the Big 4 throughout the year. But this is usually the one event at the one time of the year that most people look towards for the most fun and the most exciting. It is the WWE Royal Rumble event.
Jack, we're officially kicking off the road to WrestleMania.
Yes, the road begins here. Typically the first pay-per-view of the month, but as we mentioned, there was the Day 1 event. But this is the event that kicks off this 4-month, essentially, period of making our way to WrestleMania. You get, from the Royal Rumble event, 2 main events set up, or 2 championship matches set up for Mania, and the rest gets figured out along the way. Everything's supposed to get set up, but also here's a ton of other filler pay-per-views in the middle, to fill in that space and create side build-ups.
And while we're bigging up the event, right, because it's so unpredictable, it's so exciting, this is where names are etched in history, right? Winners of the Royal Rumble include Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. Did The Rock win that one in 2000?
I believe so.
Oh, you've got Yeah, let's see. Randy Orton's won a couple of them. John Cena won that really big one that he came back for, remember?
In 2008, yeah.
Yeah, people remember that one real clearly. So, what kind of history we making last Saturday night, Jack? We have to discuss.
Yeah, that was another thing that threw some people off. Or, I'll mention this. He wasn't able to join today, but Ricardo was watching the event, and he was thrown off at the fact that it was on a Saturday instead of a typical Sunday, and I think we talked about that last year as we were heading into the new year. We mentioned that looking at the pay-per-view schedule, a lot of these events were going to be on a Saturday now.
I am all about it, It's weird, and I wonder what prompted, the shift. I have to think it had to do with, venue availability.
Yeah, I think so, too. And, as far as from the fan perspective, it's just a lot easier to wake up after an event on a Sunday rather than the Monday heading into work.
Heck yeah. You know how many events I've lesson planned or graded through? They're the worst. So Saturday night, everything's going to stop at, 5 o'clock Pacific time. We're watching the Royal Rumble. No pre-show to speak of, right, Jack?
Nope. As far as I remember, it was just, the panel as always talking. And
how many matches do we got? We have 30-person Royal Rumbles and 4 matches?
4 matches. Yeah, that is correct. 4 matches. 3 championship matches, 1 mixed tag match.
Yeah. I could have done without 3 of those.
Yeah, and, as we talk about, a lot of the downsides of the pandemic happening, especially in the wrestling world, there's a lot of unforeseen benefits that came out of it, and one of the ones is that the events got a lot shorter and digestible.
I know what you mean. Yeah, by necessity, right?
Even 2020's Rumble, right before the pandemic, it didn't have too many matches. It was kind of similar to this card, but if you remember, it was pay-per-views just cram in so many matches. You'd have.
Yeah, did you watch the Becky Lynch Stone Cold sessions?
I did not get the chance to.
I only bring it up because she was talking about her main event of WrestleMania during 2019, right? Mm-hmm. And how exhausted the crowd was because that WrestleMania went up for 8 hours.
Yeah, it was a really
this
long.
This is before the pandemic. This is before the need to trim the fat.
Yeah,
and for WrestleMania, just split it up into 2 nights.
Yeah, and similarly.
But goodness, Jack, yes, long gone are the days of a 6 or 7 hour pay-per-view.
Yeah, with 10, 12 even sometimes matches to cover. It's honestly crazy because when we started, covering the shows, back in 2020, it was that's when it started to happen where they would trim the fat, and it makes it so much easier to fit into a 45-minute episode or even 2 45-minute episodes. They really took the NXT TakeOver approach where it was just put what we think are the 6, 7 most important matches on this card, fit it in 3-4 hours, and we're done here.
Alrighty, let's get underway. The night starts very impactfully with a Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns comes out first, the defending champion. Yeah. Why, Jack?
They bring him out. It's obviously odd to see. The champions usually come out first. Long is it known as a signal of usually the champion losing. As a warning sign if they're coming out first. Because people always have that mindset that champions come out last. But he comes out first because you can't have the moment that happened. They obviously wanted Reigns' reaction to it for what happens next, and this is also another, to hype up how big the Royal Rumble is. This can't happen in any other year, or at least following 2020, as this is the first Rumble back with a crowd, because as we all know, 2021, as good as that event kind of was, it was it was really hindered by its lack of crowd, as were a lot of events. We got the crowd back, and what a way to welcome the crowd back to the Royal Rumble. You get Seth Rollins coming out to the old Shield music and doing the full entrance, walking through the crowd.
That was so wild. He pulls the page out of Edge's book Edge only last August in SummerSlam came out to that Brood music.
Yeah.
This makes even more sense to do. It even plays into the story.
Yeah.
Comes out fully decked out in that SWAT gear, laughing all the way through. And you know what's really funny? To see him do like his arms splayed like pose in the ring that he does now, but in the Shield gear. It looks like you put a different outfit on the Seth Rollins character on 2K, you know what I mean? But didn't change his mannerisms or his taunts.
Yeah, and my favorite part was just like that they perfectly caught it. Roman standing there in the ring, he has his head down, and the look on his face the moment he hears Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
Yeah.
I loved it so much, and like it was funny because my dad hears it and he goes, "They're not gonna let him come to the crowd, is he?" And then you just see, as soon as that happens, you just see him standing there in the crowd, all looking at him.
Pretty good, really good.
Yeah, and it was a surprising opener, but man, with the story that they have and doing that, what a way to open the show.
Absolutely, no, this one had a ton of story behind it. And like we haven't seen Roman Reigns like this visibly conflicted, I think, since he was fighting Jay. Yeah. Remember, he was like really wrestling with like basically killing his family member. Yeah. It's here we sort of see him like talking to himself again and like beating himself up for feeling the way he does.
Yeah, as a commentary mentioned, I think they said they were like, it's the one thing that like has been getting to Roman, the history between these two men, bringing up the Shield days, and I think they even mentioned, like that Reigns technically still hasn't forgiven him for it, and it plays into the post match because Roman says like, I tried to let it pass by, I tried to forgive you, and like that's supposed to hint that when they did the Shield reunion, and that didn't work out. I really loved it.
How incredible at the end, right? He's got the guillotine on Seth Rollins, and Charles Robinson, the referee, is like, let him go. And Roman's like, he won't let me let go. Because he's not talking about the guillotine, Jack. He's talking about being hung up by what happened.
Yeah. What do you think of the overall match?
It did exactly what I wanted it to. I didn't think Seth Rollins was going to win, but I wanted the match to convince me he could. And there was a couple of close calls that got me. And I thought, oh, that felt good. Oh, that was a good 2 count.
Yeah, and, I'm usually used to the Roman matches starting off kind of methodical and stuff. They went full throttle immediately through because I swear it wasn't even like 5 minutes into the match. Roman was getting put through the announce table.
Yes,
Seth was hitting the stomp. He was going for the Phoenix Splash. Roman was hitting.
How about
Superman
the
punches.
Spear into a pedigree?
The spear into the pedigree spot.
Goodness. And then, and even the end promises that they're not done. Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, a part of me thinks a lot of people are trying to say maybe, spoiler. They turned the main event into a triple threat with who won the Rumble, Seth and Roman. But a part of me just kind of
repeat of WrestleMania 31.
Yeah, but a part of me thinks it's probably going to just happen at Saudi.
I think so too.
Saudi show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that finish, ties into the story. I know a lot of people don't like DQ finishes on pay-per-views, but this felt like one of those situations where it worked a bit. Even though
it worked, I think, because of everything that happened after it.
Yeah.
The chair shot to the back, literally mirroring 2014. Yeah. Roman Reigns, freaking out before us. You know what I mean? Yeah, I liked it for all of those reasons. I was like, I'm not terribly disappointed. In fact, the fact that Seth, didn't lose makes me think, okay, there's more. So, let's go. Let's run this back.
The only part I would change is making the hand on the rope just a bit more realistic because of the way it happened. It was like Charles Robinson essentially put that hand there.
Yeah.
Definitely make that look a bit more better.
Yeah, I kind of wish, maybe like Seth Rollins, does the whole Hulk up, like puts his hand up, grabs the rope himself, but then everything else plays out the way it normally does.
Yeah. But still, I think that was a really great match. Really great story to it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you expect that with the history those two men have with each other. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much easy to capitalize on, and they did. And this is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I will let it play out and see how it goes, because based off of that match and story alone, there's more to be told, more to be excited about.
Agreed.
And like you said, it really had people convinced in so many spots that Rollins could win.
Mm-hmm. Especially given, like, the Usos weren't out there, and he's abandoned Paul Heyman. You know what I mean? It was unique to see him completely by himself.
Yeah, I couldn't. I realistically could have saw it happening, even though there was a part of me that knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was like, I could see it happening. If they're going to get it off of Roman at any time, before Mania probably would work, and at a Big Four event like the Rumble.
And this is a bit of a foreshadowing statement, but going into Saturday night, I had the feeling that either Brock was going to interfere in Roman's match or Roman was going to interfere in Brock's match.
Yeah, I felt the same way. All right. But great match nonetheless. And we move on to our first Royal Rumble, a 30 Women's Royal Rumble.
Jack, I think we covered the Royal Rumble last year, right?
Yes, we did.
How on earth did we do it? Because I'll tell you what I have in front of me. I have DraftKings official list of entrants in the order that they entered and whom they were eliminated by.
Yeah, I think what we did was we kind of like listed off entrants and who they were eliminated by, but I think for the most part, what we mainly talked about was the different spots and obviously the final sequences of it.
And this, again, to be a foreshadowing statement, I enjoyed this women's match, women's Royal Rumble match, way more than the men's.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Especially, based off of what was going to happen. And obviously, it would require a ton of changing of the sequence of matches. But, like, what comes later in the WWE Championship match and the Rumble itself, it's like, it felt it would have been better to have that more towards the start and end with the women's one.
But Roman either closes the show or he starts the show.
Yeah.
That he has made clear.
Yeah, but...
So, what kind of spots stood out to you, sir, in the 30 Women Royal Rumble?
There was a lot of spots. I will say before this, because when we did it at day one, a lot has changed since when we were talking at day one. When we originally gave our predictions, we ended up having to change ours, but as time was running short, we decided to hold off. And so a couple hours before the event started, I gave my predictions to Mr. Solis, and for the women's one, I said I'll stick with Bayley, but if she isn't able to return in time, I will go with Sasha.
Right.
And then I believe you said you believed Asuka was returning and winning. But then, because
in the event that she didn't return after all, I put all my money on hardcore country Mickie James.
Yeah, and I bring this up because Sasha entered number one, and immediately I was like, well, they haven't had a woman win it from number one, so maybe, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Sasha Banks. And,
dressed as Sailor Moon with the power of the moon on her side, who knows?
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, this could work out, I was like, this could be the story they tell. And I bring it up because obviously there's a lot more to get into, but she got eliminated pretty quickly. She only lasted about close to 10 minutes, a bit short of 10 minutes, and got eliminated by Zelina Vega. And when this happened, I immediately texted Mr. Solis just in all caps, Welp. I was like, well, there goes my pick, I guess.
Yep. And just to bury the lead, Asuka never showed up.
Yeah, so Bayley never showed up, Asuka never showed up. A lot of people didn't show up, but that's to be expected with the Rumble. You're going to hear rumors. Nothing's ever confirmed until the event happens.
Yep. A couple of people that did show up. Melina showed up. She was number 2. I think that was a botch, sir. I think she wasn't supposed to be eliminated as quickly as she was.
I said the same thing because when I saw Sasha, like when the elimination happened, I saw her arm reach out for that top rope as to like grab onto it to prevent her from falling, but she clearly missed it. I was like, and I immediately told her that I don't think that was supposed to happen. Especially because once Tamina came in, there was a lot of spots of her and Sasha where it was like you felt like a third person was supposed to come in and interfere, or they were supposed to double team.
You figured Melina wasn't going to last too long, but goodness, that really made my heart sink, to watch that play out the way that it did.
Yeah, as Wikipedia tells me, she only lasted 53 seconds.
Oh my, that's funny. What other spots stood out to you, sir? In no particular order.
So one of the foreshadowings for how this Rumble was gonna go, when I saw Banks was eliminated pretty quickly, and then and so I was like, okay, so it's not her. And then when I saw Liv Morgan come out at 6 and Bianca Belair at 8, I was like, okay, something tells me the people we think have a chance at winning have no chance at winning this, because why are a lot of these people's picks for the event coming out so early,
Interesting. You know what, Jack? While I'm watching, it is not, I'm not thinking at all about how early some of these folks, heavy contenders, are coming out. You know what I mean? Like, I have no clue what I'm in store for at the second half of this Rumble. It's anybody's game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And, like, I was like, man, it could be anyone. But, like, from the field that was announced, I was like, well, it's probably going to be, if they're going to do a back-to-back, they could do Bianca. They could go Liv. They could go Sasha. They could go Rhea, even though I didn't really believe Rhea because, her booking as of late doesn't really...
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. I didn't believe Rhea either. But when she came out and the reaction that she got, and I'm always reminded how young she is, right? I thought, God, all they need to do is just pick a lane. You're going to take her, you're going to do something or you're not. And I thought, they can literally hit the reset button on her tonight, and she can eliminate 20 people, and we can all be excited about Rhea Ripley again. And when she came out, I'm like, look at her. Look at this. It's as if the last calendar year hasn't happened.
Yeah. And it was funny because when her and Charlotte were going at it, they mentioned, like, I
hate Charlotte. I just want to say it every opportunity I get. I absolutely hate Charlotte. I hate Charlotte was in this match. I hate that Charlotte eliminated as many people as she did. But go on. Tell me what you were going to say that commentary said.
Yeah, first off, I couldn't believe Charlotte was in the match. She's a champion, I don't like champions being in the Rumble. But they were like, oh, they faced off before for the title at Mania. And I was like, I looked at my dad, I'm like, last year, Rhea beat Asuka for the title. What are they talking about? They fought. And then I remember, I'm like, oh, that's right. They fought for the NXT title at WrestleMania 36. And I look at my dad and go, I keep forgetting that because I keep trying to blank it from my memory that Charlotte did that and in turn ruined NXT's women's division for a couple months.
For a couple of months. Yeah. And you know what's funny, too, about Rhea Ripley? So, you know what else I loved about this Royal Rumble match? It had so many stories. For a company that we were always decrying as not doing enough with the women's division, how did it have so many different stories involving so many different people? Case in point, Rhea's in there giving the business to people, and Nikki Ash comes out, and you're like, oh, of course. She's kind of got this feud going with Nikki Ash. And I'm terrified, Jack. I'm like, oh, shoot. Charlotte and Nikki want Rhea out. I hate that there's two of them. And then I thought, Jack, Nikki, the almost a superhero, is supposedly like kind of acting sinisterly, right?
Yeah.
And people on YouTube and podcasts are wondering, is there going to be some super villain side of Nikki, right?
Yeah.
And I think, isn't it? And they all clamor for, Nikki of old. And I think she can't at all change her outfit to reflect like a villain because she'd look just like Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley looks like the villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With her black and her leather and her studs.
Yeah, and, playing on the story part, there's also the part where she goes after Carmella on the outside, and she's going after Carmella and Zelina, so it's like there's two stories there. there was the story of Sonya Deville and Naomi.
Incredible. Yes.
And that ties into, when Sonya comes out, she decides to stick on the outside for the longest time. And then Naomi's former tag partner, Cameron, shows up as a surprise Rumble entrant. And I really enjoyed this solely because of the commentary where, Graves is like explaining to Sonya Deville that they used to be tag partners. And
it's so absurd, Jack. Like, Sonya doesn't know.
Yeah, and I just loved how she looks at him. She goes, "What did you say?" And he goes, "They're tag partners. They used to be tag partners. So you're saying they're close? They're like friends? Well, I think they'd be more than close friends. Seeing as they were tag partners. Interesting." And then she immediately gets up and gets in the ring and starts beating up on her.
Yeah.
Immediately
the
eliminates.
line she said was, so Naomi would be pretty devastated if something were to happen to her. It was so like, this is good. This is only good.
Yeah, and she gets thrown out before, she's able to have an interaction with Naomi. But, Naomi comes out next, kind of consoles her on the outside and then immediately goes in, starts attacking Sonya, and throws her out as well.
Yep, Naomi eliminated by Charlotte Flair, assist by Sonya Deville. Another story that's not over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sonya was eliminated by Naomi.
Yeah,
and Sonya went back in.
Yeah, Sonya went back in. And then it doesn't happen until very later on, but when Natalia's still in there, Summer Rae comes out, and they've been going at it on social media, so they played that up for a little bit, not too long.
Jack, name one story that Summer Rae was a part of during her tenure with the WWE.
Fandango.
Really? Was she?
I think so. I think she was his dance partner.
Goodness gracious.
I think I only know that because I think they said it's actually true that she was the first NXT woman to be called up.
Sure.
So I think that's the only reason I know that storyline, and that's about it.
I'm just saying, we are really playing fast and loose with the legend line, the legend moniker.
Yeah.
You know who is a legend? Ivory, who came out with her right to censor garb and song. That was incredible. I wish she was out there for longer.
Pretty short, immediately eliminated by Rhea Ripley. Which, I think that was a perfect person to eliminate her, because it's if there's anyone that's truly the opposite of what right to censor would preach, it's
kinda. I was thinking about that. Actually, Rhea doesn't present herself as somebody who's promiscuous. She just likes black and metal music. She's not one to riddle with her double entendres of her recreational activities, right? I wonder if I would have put her again. It's actually funny because for all that she decried WWE, they're not. You know what I mean? They're far away from what they used to be.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other moments that I remember.
Mickie James.
Of course, Mickie James. Right after that, and Brie Bella coming out, Ivory and Brie Bella, we get Mickie James coming out with the Impact Knockouts Women's Championship and her Impact theme.
Yep. Super excited to be there. We're all aghast that they actually went through with it. One thing I noted is that she leaves the belt outside, doesn't enter the ring with it. It's funny, Jack, for a show that's only entertainment and not a sport, they are gung-ho about a very specific detail like that, and I'm sure they told her, do not enter that ring with that belt.
Yeah, probably.
And she eliminated somebody.
She did.
Jack, when you think, who are they going to let her eliminate? Because they'll never let a WWE superstar look inferior or weaker than an Impact superstar. Guess who they turn to? A former superstar. Ha! You can eliminate as many of these old divas as you want.
Yeah. Cool to see her, especially because later on Lita comes in and the two of them get to interact, and a lot of people wish Trish was in there so that they can get the interaction between those three. Because in the first Women's Rumble, we got Trish and Mickie. But the one thing people say is we never got Lita and Trish, because Lita came in too early in that Rumble and got eliminated.
I hear you.
And similar here, they both lasted, over 10 minutes, but Lita and Mickey kind of went out pretty quickly, and aside from the one elimination, there wasn't much done with Mickey.
Right.
Which, I mean, is to be presumed, they probably, if anything, realistically, they just wanted Mickey because they needed people to fill in this Rumble.
Did you see the Gianna Perazzo promo online?
I don't think I did. I know I saw, like, Impact was constantly posting, like, all their different, roster members talking about it.
Gianna Perazzo just sort of had this thing I saw on Instagram where she was like, it's not like anybody thinks she's going to win the thing, right? It was really good. Like, it was really, like, for all the excitement and hype that Impact's putting into it, it's funny to see her in character just go, yeah, but, like, she's not going to win the thing.
Yeah.
And so Mickey goes out pretty soon. Lita doesn't last too long, and you wondered, like Jack had wondered before, if something was going to happen in the last part, the last leg of this Royal Rumble. And the answer is yes, something big.
Yeah. I will call out real quickly that, to tie it into it, tie it into everything, we see Liv Morgan eliminated pretty early, and that's after Sarah Logan shows up, former Riot Squad member with Morgan and Ruby Riot, but both of them are eliminated by the Bellas, pretty quickly. And so there goes Liv. You still have Bianca in there, still going strong. Oh, something I do want to mention too, because we caught it too, is there was a spot where Natalya was on the outside trying to resist elimination from Charlotte, and then Charlotte just kind of stops because the ref is like attending to Natalya. So I think some type of injury happened there, but Natalya stays in. We get Mighty Molly showing up to interact with Nikki ASH, the two superhero gimmicks, but she goes out pretty quickly.
Nikki jumps her. She left the ring and jumps poor Mighty Molly. Everyone's so excited to see her, and Nikki straight up blindsides her. There can only be one. That was so good, Jack. That was so good.
Yeah.
She doesn't change her costume. She only changes how she talks and acts and fights. It's subtlety. She doesn't wear the word bad across her chest. Now I'm bad.
Yeah, and then it's at this point, that was number 27. I'm like, okay, well, I don't think we're getting any NXT call-ups at this point. If they were going to come at any point, any Dakota Kai's, Raquel Gonzalez.
I still had no idea, Jack, what I was in store for. But number 28, Jack. Who's number 28 in this 30-woman Royal Rumble?
You would think this would have been the number 30. Number 30 is usually for, like, the biggest returns and stuff like that. Usually, as we mentioned, John Cena returned at number 30 in 2008.
Interesting observation. I wonder why this surprise entrant wasn't number 29 or 30.
Yeah, but number 28, we get Ronda Rousey making her return, and it was at this moment I was like, all right, yeah, she's winning.
Damn.
The longest time I was like, yeah, those rumors aren't going to be true,
I thought she was still pregnant.
I didn't expect her. I was like, there's no way, she hated the fans too much to come back, but money talks, more than likely.
Money talks.
And so she shows up.
Gracious.
We get Shotzi coming in right after, and then we get Shayna Baszler at number 30, and, kind of an odd number 30, but, we get a real cool camera shot where when she comes out, they immediately pan over to Ronda smiling, because that's her old buddy.
I would love to see them work together, that'd be incredible for Shayna.
Yeah, you would think, hopefully now, getting the rub with Rousey, that they'd, do some prominent stuff with Shayna.
Something, you know what I mean? And, Jack, the Royal Rumble, recent history kind of celebrates the Final Four. There's, a lot to do about who are the Final Four. And I wanted to talk a lot about the Final Four of the men's. But here we had Shotzi, Ronda, Charlotte, and Shayna. And you're like, 75% of that is solid.
Yeah. And it was at this point that I was looking at him like, okay, well, it's probably going to be Ronda because there's no way they're having her return to not win the thing, Even though, like Lesnar, she could just walk in and be guaranteed a title shot.
Yes!
They're just probably going to use this to do it. And, I find it funny because it's like, if they wanted to guarantee her to get cheered, especially for her win, what did they have to do? The final two is her with Charlotte Flair.
Right.
You want to guarantee that you're gonna get a pop when someone wins the Rumble for the women. Make Charlotte the final two and have them eliminate her.
Yeah, it could have gone a lot of different ways. If she was last with Bianca or last with Liv, it would have gone completely different.
Yeah.
So hindsight, right? Why did Sasha go out so soon? Well, we don't want Sasha in the ring when the end comes.
Yeah, but Ronda eliminates Flair, wins the Rumble. Got to see who she goes after.
Yep. Who do you think she goes after, Jack? You know what I was reminded of? Like when she won and they asked, I wonder who she'll challenge. Goddamn, Jack. Becky's the champion. Charlotte's the champion. Ronda's back. And it's 2019. It's weird.
It's 2019 all over. I think I brought it up at day one. I told you it's 2019 all over again, essentially, except, Roman having the title. But it's like, hey, Brock's champion, Becky's champion.
Goodness gracious.
Champion, Ronda's back.
Makes my eye twitch.
Yeah. I think I was more content with this Rumble more than anything. There was more stories, even though they kind of went by pretty quickly and stuff. Mm. But, I think, like as you mentioned, I think I enjoyed this Rumble way more than the men's one.
Yeah, which we'll get to. How much time we got, Jack?
7 minutes.
Is that enough to talk about the next non-Rumble match?
I think so, especially because much like how for this next match I didn't have my total attention on it, neither did the crowd.
What is it?
It is Becky Lynch versus Doudrop for the Raw Women's Champion, and I make that statement because the audience in attendance was too distracted at the fact that the WrestleMania sign caught on fire and people were having to be moved aside so they could lower it and put it out.
Becky Lynch on Twitter owned that. She says it's because I'm straight fire that sign caught fire, something like that. It was wild. But yeah, Jack, I was underwhelmed. I've heard a lot of good things about Doudrop, Piper Niven. It's exciting to see her in a championship match. I wasn't excited about anything that happened.
Yeah, I would say it was pretty competitive back and forth. They let Doudrop, Piper Niven get a lot of offense in, but like I say, it was a decent match, but I wouldn't say it had my total attention.
And I was thinking about it. I had enough time to think about why I wasn't being entertained. And I'm going to go back to the Becky Lynch Stone Cold podcast I watched afterwards, right? Because she was talking about how hard it is to be a babyface, how much fun there is to be a heel. And I thought, that's an interesting observation because I don't know which one you are in this match against Piper Niven Doudrop because you're not trying to cheat, right? Maybe that's what I need because she's still doing the, I didn't get that pin. Let me look like I'm doing math in a moment where I'm not supposed to necessarily do math.
Yeah, and plus during the build, it was Piper was the one attacking her a lot,
Yeah.
Coming off as aggressive, so it's who's the heel, who's the face?
I don't know. But we got Becky Lynch clinching the victory with a avalanche manhandle slam. She can't get Doudrop up on her own, but she waited for Doudrop to be on the second rope, looking like she was getting ready for a Vader bomb or whatever, and she jumps up, slams her down with gravity's help, and wins.
Gets the win, retains her title, and Mania.
Hey, look at us, Jack. We've got an episode left to record, and we got 2 regular matches and a Rumble match.
Yeah, and similar here, we got 2 regular matches and a Rumble match finished in this episode. The next one, as you mentioned, 2 regular matches, a Rumble match to go.
Mm-hmm.
But so, we'll end off here. Thank you for joining for this episode. Tune into the next episode where we cover Brock versus Bobby for the WWE Championship. Miz and Maurice versus Edge and Beth for nothing, just a regular mixed championship match. And we get the 30-man Royal Rumble event. See you
Yes.
in the next one.